All right, day 4. So factoring quadratic expressions. I think you've done factoring in secondary 3. I am pretty positive you have. So hopefully this is kind of review. We'll see though. So let's start with some vocabulary. So to rewrite an expression as the product of its factors, it's just factoring. Pretty straightforward. Involving the second and no higher power of an unknown quantity or variable, that is a quadratic. Okay. An expression consisting of 3 terms is a trinomial. The common factor of each term of an expression that has the greatest coefficient and the greatest exponent is the greatest common factor. You have been dealing with factors since like 5th grade. So we're just going to take that concept and we're going to work off of it. So the GCF, that's what we call it for short, for 4x cubed plus 20x squared minus 12x is 4x, because that's what goes into 4x cubed and 20x squared and 12x. Okay. To rewrite an expression as the product of its factors is just factoring again. I don't know why they put that twice. That's so silly. Okay, anyways. And then an expression of the form a squared minus b squared, it can be factored as a plus b and a minus b. That is the difference of squares. Okay. Now let's do this. So we need a factor using the GCF, or the greatest common factor. You always have to make sure it's in standard form first. So let's look at example A. That is not in standard form, so let's change it so it is. So we have 7x to the 7th minus 7x cubed minus 63x squared. Now let's look at our numbers. So what number goes into 7 and 63? It's 7. That's the biggest number that can go into 7 and 63. So now let's look at our variables. So we have x to the 7th, x cubed, and x squared. We need to see how many x's do they have in common. So they have 2 x's in common. So it's 7x squared. That's our GCF. Okay, and it's positive 7x squared because the first term, when it's in standard form, is positive. So now we're going to divide each term by 7x squared. And then we're just going to simplify. So 7x to the 7th divided by 7x squared is x to the 5th. Negative 7x cubed divided by 7x squared is just x. And then 63x squared divided by 7x squared is negative 9. Okay, but the GCF doesn't just go away, it goes in front. So our final answer is 7x squared times x to the 5th minus x minus 9. Okay, now let's look at this second example. So first, this is already in standard form. We don't have to worry about anything. So we need to see what number goes into 36, 30, and 54. We're just going to ignore the signs for a second. You can go through and figure that out. It is 6. 6 is what goes into all 3 of those. We don't have, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. We have x squared, x, and then there's no variables. So there's no variables included in our GCF. Okay? And then it's a negative 6 because our first term is a negative. So negative 36x squared, that's negative, which makes our GCF negative. So now we're going to just divide each of those by negative 6. Then we're going to simplify. So negative 36x squared divided by negative 6 is 6x squared. 30x divided by negative 6 is negative 5x. And then negative 54 divided by negative 6 is 9. Remember, the GCF doesn't just go away, it goes in front. Okay? And then that's our final answer. So now we're going to factor trinomials now. Okay? So we're going to factor our quadratics. I am going to do this a little bit different. I don't want to do these factors and sum stuff. So you can look at these steps and do it that way, or you can do it this way. All right? So I'm going to do it using the x. I'm going to call it like the magic x, I guess. So we have this x. So the top number is the constant term, or the last number. So the top number in my x is 21. Please take good notes on this. Sorry, I just had to mention it, okay? So the top number is 21. The bottom number is the middle term's coefficient. Remember, the coefficient is the number in front of the variable. So the bottom number is a 10, okay? So we need to find factors of the top number that add up to be the bottom number. So we need to find factors of 21 that will add up to be 10. Okay, so let's find the factors of 21. So there's 1 in 21, 2 can't go into 21, 3 and 7. 4 can't go into 21, 5 can't, 6 can't, and then we're back at 7. So those are our only factors. So 1 plus 21 is 22. Even if we subtracted those, it would only give us 20, so that doesn't help us. But 3 plus 7 is 10. So those are the factors we're going to use. And then those factors go on the sides of my x. Okay? Then finally we just write them out. So that becomes x plus 3 and x plus 7. You're done. That's your final answer. Okay? Pretty straightforward, I hope. Let's do another example. Oh, getting ahead of myself. So just remember, you multiply to be the top number, you add or subtract. You can also subtract to be the bottom number. Okay? Another example. So we have negative 36 as the top number because the last number is the top number. The constant is our top number and the sign stays with it. We have 5 as our bottom number. Okay? Remember, you have to multiply to be the top number, add to be the bottom number. So we need to find factors of 36 that will add or subtract to be 5. So we have 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. So let's just go through these. So 1 and 36, if we add that, that's 37. If we subtract it, it's 35. That doesn't help us. That's not anything close to 5. So 2 and 18. 2 plus 18 is 20. Doesn't help us. 18 minus 2 is 16. Still doesn't help us. So then we have 3 and 12. 3 plus 12 is 15. Doesn't help us. 12 minus 3 is 9. We're getting closer, but it's still not helping us, right? So 4 plus 9 is 13, but 9 minus 4 is 15. Or is 15. It's 5, duh. 9 minus 4 is 5. So that's the one we're going to use. And those are the numbers we're going to put on our sides. So we have 9 and then we have negative 4. Remember, we have to have that negative because 9 times negative 4 equals negative 36. And then 9 plus negative 4 equals 5. Or 9 minus 4 equals 5. Okay? Then we just put these into our parentheses. So it's x plus 9 because the sign stays with it. And x minus 4. Voila, you're done. Okay? I'll let you look at that for a second. Pretty straightforward. Just remember, on the x, it has to multiply to be the top number and add or subtract to be the bottom number. Okay? So let's do these ones. So we're going to find the GCF and factor. Okay? So first, we have 4x squared plus 8x plus 12. The GCF here is 4. 4 is the only thing that can go into all three of those terms. So we're going to divide each of those terms by 4. And we end up with x squared plus 2x plus 3. And then where does that 4 go? It just goes out front. And then we can try and factor that middle binomial using the x, except for that binomial will not factor. You can try, and you can prove me wrong. I'll give you extra credit or something, but I promise it won't factor. Okay? Let's look at example B. The GCF there is 9. So I'm going to factor out that 9. I'm left with 2x squared plus x minus 3. That 9 doesn't go away, it goes out front. And I'm pretty positive this one will factor, but we haven't gotten that far. That's going to be next lesson. So I'm not going to make you guys factor that. Okay? So remember to take the quiz, and I will see you guys tomorrow.